I do have one testicle, yeah.
Hey, before you watch this thing, hit subscribe, would you?
Well, I lost my testicle in it was 2000. You'd think I'd remember the year. Yeah, I was doing my show on MTV, and we filmed it all. We filmed the whole ordeal. But I still have the left one, so everything's fine.
That must have been so surreal. You must have been like, what?
Yeah, it was kind of a curveball for sure. Because
that was one of those. The most recent one in culture was like Luka Doncic got traded from Dallas to the Lakers, right? It's a big sports thing.
Yeah.
But it was that big a plot twist where it was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't good timing for sure. I mean, it's never good timing to get testicular cancer, but it was particularly bad because the show had just come on MTV and things were going good for me, and then I had to kind of stop it down.
You were cresting. You were crowning. You were like ascendant. And you were also rare in that you were under 30, right?
Yeah, 28, yeah.
And nobody was really young in show. Like there was like the pop stars, but you seem especially young back then.
Yeah, it was a lot going on. I just moved basically to the United States from Canada, but really just moved to Los Angeles. I was in New York for about a year with the show on MTV. Then I just moved the show out here, and that's threw us for a little bit of a loop there. But dealt with it. We filmed it, put it on MTV, and the cancer special. You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, so. and it was helpful in terms of like everybody talks about awareness and get checked yourself and how to diagnose, but like it actually probably demonstrably saved thousands of lives.
It's pretty wild. Like when I'm on tour doing stand-up, at least a couple times a month, somebody will come up after a show with their wife, and they'll just say, "Hey, man, I went to the doctor because of that show." And it's funny,
you can tell them. You can probably tell immediately what they're gonna like. This guy might be a ball cancer guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
when they're in line,
it gets kind of emotional.
Of course.
Start crying, and I sometimes even get up a little kind of worked up about it. But it's nice to see. It only hits young guys, right? You can't get it if you're. I mean, you don't expect to get cancer when you're in your 20s. So a lot of times guys don't do anything about it because they're embarrassed. Yeah. And they don't go to the doctor.
What do people think it is? Just like, my ball's being weird.
Yeah, they think it's something that'll go away on its own. They don't want to go to the doctor. I got misdiagnosed. They thought it was epididymitis, they said. They gave me antibiotics, and then that didn't go away. But yeah, I think it's ultimately some young guys aren't as paranoid as I was. I immediately went to the doctor.
Were you a bit of a hypochondriac?
Yeah, and even more so now because once you're
right once.
Yeah. You just like the moment there's anything even subtly wrong, I'm just immediately at the doctor. So, but I'm lucky I did because if you wait around, then it spreads. Otherwise, it's a pretty curable disease. So. The right testicle removal was nothing, right? They go in, they just shuck it out like an oyster. They cut you up here, by the way. They don't cut through the scrotum, okay? Just so you know. They just want you to know that my scrotum's like there's no scars. It's not scarred up or anything.
I'm sure it's
the
incredible scrotum.
Like it's normal.
I'm sure it's one of the more beautiful.
I just like people to know they don't cut through the.
They should. There's already a seam. I don't know if they've thought about this. There's already a seam. They could just use the.
That's true. But it's even. They just cut you kind of under your pubes.
Got it.
Kind of thing.
Great.
And then they go in and they kind of pull it out from above.
Keep it beautiful.
Got an intact scrotum, just so everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
But to clarify that detail. But so that was essentially what I'm saying is that was a very simple surgery.
Did you take?
But then they go here. They took some lymph nodes out to test
them. Did it get to the nodes, or they had to test them?
They did not, but they had to test them, and then that was sort of this weird elective surgery that I had to test them because it was maybe not there yet because they couldn't see it in the MRI.
Yep.
So I elect to do this surgery. That was, sort of a decade of pain, basically.
Literally?
Yeah.
After that, you were in pain more or less for a decade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you take anything for it?
I did not. I did initially. There was sort of all the. I never really got. I got off the painkillers right away. I just sort of suffered through it really, but it was kind of like. It was a kind of a pain that went from extreme pain to sort of within a few months more of a dull, sort of constant, sort of aching in your body that was sort of terrifying, right? And so then that's
terrifying. How come?
Terrifying because you're like, is this going to go away?
Yeah.
Is this going to ever stop? I can't do what I normally do. I don't have the energy. I don't have the kind of, sort of unbridled, sort of positive, you're kind of feeling just sort of.
Did it
feel
down, like a Greek tragedy? Did you look at it in a religious way? Did you look at it in a spiritual way? How did you?
If you say a religious way, I do, and I'm not like, I did actually pray, for real.
And you'd never really done that before?
I'd been to church as a kid, and
you're aware of it.
Aware of it all, but I was, not sort of. Not from an extremely religious background, just sort of culturally religious. My parents took us to church when we were kids and stuff. But then, here I was, when I had the cancer, and I was like, so, on one hand, so excited that things were going well with the show, and on the other hand, like, oh my God, am I gonna fucking die right now? This fucking sucks, So it was like I remember just sort of sitting there going, I'm gonna pray, to God, like completely 100% seriously, no, just in the hope that
not as a bit
inside my head. I don't even know if I told anybody, But then then you end up surviving, and
And did you think it was
worked? That worked. So,
did you honestly? Did you kind of think that?
I definitely allow myself to believe that it's a possibility now. Like sort of like a Pascal's wager kind of thing. Yeah.
Did you see it as punishment for success, or do you know what I mean? Like, was it a biblical story of the man? Pride cometh before the fall.
I didn't take it that far. I just considered it really, really bad luck.
Yeah,
really shitty timing, bad luck. But yeah. So it's it was crazy shit.
And did you? So the 10 years of a mild throb, a consistent.
Yeah, and it's sort of it was kind of also just sort of a loss of energy. I mean, you can sort of see pretty dramatically a difference in just when I would do a show or something. I was always screaming, running, jumping, throwing my body through things, and then I became more like, okay, let's try to. I think it's partially physical and partially due to just getting older, partially due to just all the other sort of just changing life things that happen.
Yeah.
But I think it all added up to a different sort of different way of performing.
It's interesting. It's like an athlete getting injured or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just take it as fate, or take it as like one of those things, just bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it went.
Yeah.
You got the cancer and then went through the treatment, and the pain and ache. That's when you're doing Freddy Got Fingered?
It was actually just before. So we were getting ready to shoot, and I directed Freddy Got Fingered, which was sort of a doubly difficult. Yeah, I kind of asked to direct it. They initially said no, and then I went in and asked again, and they said yes. So, but so then we were getting ready to shoot, and I got cancer, and it was about delayed about probably close to a year before we shot the movie. They waited for me to get better. So maybe not even a year though. Like I was kind of in pain when I was shooting Freddy Got Fingered for sure. Like I was just kind of healing and stuff. So,
would you share it with people, or would you just kind of quietly soldier on?
I didn't really share it with people. I didn't talk about it publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to sort of occasionally mention it, not too much, but you asked, so I'm talking about it now. But
can you believe this fucking baby won't shut up about his chronic pain that he got from cancer? What a fucking pussy, am I right?
Yeah. But so it's kind of it's I don't know. I felt like it was I don't know. I just didn't really feel like it was a very funny thing to talk about. And
Yeah.
I also was kind of under the impression that it was going to go away, and then it sort of like
you thought you had a deal where you
sort of
do
like it
the
was getting a
treatment.
little better, and then it would be like 6 months, it's not going away, and then you sort of get more. Then you start to get sort of panicky, and then it just keeps going. But so that leads to kind of in the back of your mind, sort of very sort of tough emotional things to deal with, that you kind of eventually sort through over time. But
It feels like you had 20 years of life in about 3 years.
yeah. It was weird, and at the same time you're grateful because I met a kid in the hospital who was 24 years old, and he was a fan of the show. He was a snowboarder, and he had the same thing, and he didn't make it. So it's like you're like, oh no, you just can't be complaining too much,
Yeah.